So I feel like the only way to test out the new Forge is to work on something for a friend of mine. Y'all love the hatchet wrench that I made, and this is going to be another thing that's not for sale. I'd like to make more of them just because they're laborious more so than a knife, just because the material is so thick. But this is what is this? Some China wrench. It doesn't even have a brand on it, I don't think, unless Forged is the brand. But it's a cheap China wrench that my buddy Justin, who runs this company called Atlanta Custom Wraps out in Woodstock, and this is going to be his Christmas present, which is already super late. This is what I'm going to do, so might as well get started. So this is my first attempt at forge welding. So that being said, there used to be a really big fold line, or there used to be a really big crease or something along here. That's disappeared completely. So I'm like 100% positive that this is welded to the other thing. Put more flux, and then I want to fold this piece over here to kind of give it still more metal here. See if I can't get rid of these lines and make sure that everything's welded nice and tight. All right, I really messed this thing up. I need to do some more research or practice more before I start trying to make things. So I'm giving up on the fact that this is a tomahawk, but I have another idea, so I'm just going to cut the head off this and work on that. All right. Now the idea is to make a chopper out of this. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but this little rounding hammer that I got on Amazon's been pretty awesome. I'll try to leave a link for you guys. After I resurfaced the face of it and kind of rounded out the edges, I don't have any more huge hammer dings like I used to. Go. I'm gonna let this cool, then I'll sharpen it, quench it, all that good shit. Tried really hard to keep this the same shape, but just once I lost it, it was done. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no way I'm getting this back to its original size and shape, but probably a pretty good handle grip on there. I want to flatten this out, I'll put wood on it. I do want to point out something. I told you guys in one of my previous videos that my biggest problem were these big hammer hits that I had in my blade, and makes it really hard to sand out and smooth out and all that good stuff. That, and with just a little bit more control, doesn't happen anymore. Way more controllable, way more smooth. Yeah, very, very happy with that. So let it cool, then I'll grind it. See, I used to use the residual heat from the forge and set that in front of it and then like warm it up, but I can't do that now because, you know, there are different planes now. So I'm just using MAP gas to warm it up. Trying to experiment with times to see if it matters how long you leave it in, if you pull it out, you know, stuff like that. Just trying to figure out what works best for my setup, and so I'm gonna let it sit there for a little bit, start cleaning some of this up, and we'll file test it. All right, now it's time for the file test. Now the way this works is that when you harden steel, you take like a file or something like that and run it across material, and if it bites, if it starts taking the material out, then the quench was a failure. Nice. Perfect. Nice and hardened. So yeah, this is what I ended up going with, since the hatchet or the tomahawk is such a fail that I decided to go with something like this. Yeah, feels good. Feels really good. Oh, another thing. So I was going to be doing this camshaft and making it a knife, which I thought would be really cool because a lot of the camshafts that I work with when I worked with cars, like my Corvette and Camaro, those camshafts are all steel. Looking at this is a stock one. I don't know this for a fact, but looking at it, it looks a lot like a really early model Gixxer 600 or 1000, like a 99 to 2000, somewhere around that range. Looks like one of their cams. I've done a couple of cam swaps on the older Gixxers, and these look just like the factory ones online. Of course, I can't confirm that because they all kind of look very similar, but I'm pretty sure that's what this is. But it's cast iron instead of steel like I thought it would be, which makes sense, you know, for OEM parts it's cheap. I took one hit at this thing when it was glowing hot and it just cracked, so no knife with this. However, I do have a transmission, a bunch of gears. I'm gonna take all these off and I'm gonna make a big cool knife out of the center transmission spindle or something, I don't know. But that's for a different video you guys get to see. I've learned not to fully sharpen the knife until you start, you know, kind of putting the last little bit together. There's been so many sketchy situations where I've almost hurt myself pretty bad. But I am, like I said, gonna do a wooden handle on this, but I kind of want it to be just a little bit different. I think I'm gonna do the finger grooves right where the hands go. All right, here comes the part that I've really been wanting to do, acid etching. Now, as I mentioned, this is a gift for a friend of mine. His name is Justin. He runs his company, Atlanta Custom Wraps, here in Woodstock, So while I was at a shop the other day hanging out, I took control of his vinyl cutter, because I'm the only one who knows how to use it, and cut out some of his logos. I'm going to see if I can acid etch this logo on the side of this blade, and that's why I spent so much time getting that blade about as clean as I really wanted it, just in case it didn't work out and I had to buff it off. But I have an idea here. So my original idea was to put the logo on the side of the blade and then dunk the whole thing in acid. But rather than doing that, rather than taking all of this out, I've seen people who sometimes just use little Q-tip swabs and whatnot and put it over. Like if I were to dunk it, everything other than the logo would have been etched away, and that would have been almost like embossed. But I see people use nail polish, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out one of these, apply it to the blade, put nail polish over it, wait for that to dry, remove the sticker, then apply the acid etching. So I will need gloves for this, so actually I don't know why I put them on because I don't need them just yet, but rub this down with some alcohol to make sure that there's no grease or grime or anything like that that would prevent it from sticking. With vinyl, you always want to make sure that it's nice and clean surface. I think just like right there would be cool. All right? So now I'm gonna put the nail polish over it. Now I think about it, it would make a lot more sense for me to get a colored one, like a colored nail polish, like a red or a blue or something, just so I could see what's going on here. But basically I'm just kind of using this nail polish to hopefully create a stencil that I can etch over. This is some very fast drying stuff. Apparently this stuff's already dry. All right, jeez, it's like operation. It got muddied up a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I'm gonna wait for the polish to dry 100%, kind of scrape away as much as I can, but for the most part, I think that'll work just fine. As long as the whole, acid doesn't eat through that, which I don't think it does. I am going to put my gloves back on. I'm going to put on my glasses in case it splashes. I don't want any in my eye. This is something that I've been really wanting to do, and if it works out the way I want it to, I can start putting my logo on all my knives. I'll just be using some ferric chloride. It's made for etching. Use a Q-tip to save on this stuff. I have a bucket of water here, which is good because water neutralizes acids. And it looks like it's already etching. They say this process only takes about 5 minutes to do to get the results you're looking for, or the results I'm looking for. Now that that's all covered, it looks like, just let it sit for about 5 minutes, I don't know. All right, I'm gonna go wash this with soap and water, maybe quick scrub with a brush just to make sure that I get it out of all the nook and crannies. But basically water and soap will neutralize this kind of acid. So here's the good news. The etch worked awesome, and I can use this in all my next endeavors. The bad news is that the brush that I used is technically an abrasive, and it put some scoring along the blade where I had it polished. So I'm gonna hit it with the polishing wheel, but it might polish off the etching, which means that I have to redo it. But I counted for the fact that I might have to redo it, so. That's what I was afraid of. Can't see it anymore. But it's okay. I'd rather just redo it. All right, it worked. This one's a little less clean. I think I let the nail polish get a little bit too hard, and it kind of made the lines a little bit less refined, but I'm gonna call this good for right now. That's awesome that I'll be able to do this. This is after 15 minutes. I figured it would be deeper, like you'd be able to physically touch it. Maybe I need to leave it in longer. Did some work off camera, just drilled the holes, did the final smoothing around where the handle's gonna go, made sure it's nice and level so the wood butts up against it nice and good. The reason I did some of this off camera is just because I didn't know that this was gonna be like a full-blown episode. Really good in the hand, everything's nice and smooth now. Holes are drilled for the handle. So now I'm gonna throw this thing in the oven to temper it, make it nice and golden, so I can put the handle on, put the final sharpening on it, and then that'll be done. All right, this is the knife that I made for Justin. Acid etched his logo, the ACW logo. Made a custom handle for it. This is oak, and it has the ACW blue in the spacers. I'm hoping that he likes it. All right, Merry Christmas.
Open that cabinet?
For me? Oh. That's so badass.
That's acid etched using those stickers that I cut.
Bro. Wicked. Yeah, I'm gonna end up spinning it around. That's fucking dope.
Old number 32.
Fuck yeah. Man, I can't thank you enough. That's so badass. Yeah. No, you killed it.